You see, one of the biggest lies people hear in recovery is that sobriety will save your life, because it won't. See, sobriety gives you the opportunity to rebuild your life. But if you never rebuild your identity, which are your routines, your standards, your mindset, and even your environment, well, if you don't do that, eventually the emptiness comes back. And that's why so many people relapse. And it's not because they're weak, no. It's not because they don't care, they do. It's because removing substances is not the same thing as rebuilding a human being. You see, I learned that the hard way. Years ago, my life completely collapsed. Before addiction really took over, my family had a massive project worth millions of dollars during the economic boom. Well, then 2008 happened. The housing market crashed and we lost everything we had. And honestly, that's when my life started spiraling. My mental health got real bad. See, I have severe OCD, and eventually it completely took over my life. My thoughts became unbearable. My anxiety became unbearable. And my depression became unthinkable. And that's when things got dark. I mean, really dark. See, I attempted suicide 3 different times. I ended up in multiple mental health institutions over several months. And at that point, I was completely broken. I had no direction. I had no stability, no identity. I was mentally destroyed. And eventually, I started self-medicating. It started with benzos, then alcohol, then anything that could shut my brain off. And that combination became extremely dangerous. I would black out. I got arrested. I fought bouncers. I fought friends. I burned bridges with almost everyone around me. Eventually, I became isolated. And that's when the heroin entered the picture. And my life got even worse. You see, what most people don't understand about addiction is that addiction is usually not the root problem. It's just often a symptom of a deeper collapse. A collapse in your identity, in your mental health, in your purpose, a collapse in your self-worth. And you see, eventually you stop recognizing yourself altogether. And that's what happened to me. I didn't just lose control of substances. I lost who I was. And for a long time, I thought getting sober alone would just fix everything. I thought if I can just stop using, my life will magically come back together. But that's not what happened, no. Because when substances disappear, I was still left with the same mindset, the same emotional patterns, the same lack of structure, unresolved pain, the same self-destructive identity. And that realization changed everything for me, because I realized recovery is not just about removing substances. You see, recovery is about rebuilding yourself from the ground up. And trust me, I tried multiple recovery programs. Whew. And some were extremely expensive. I mean, I'm talking $20,000 a month luxury programs. The ones that had boats, they had horses, they would pamper you, and they built an environment of comfort. But you see, honestly, a lot of those places never forced real change. They never forced transformation. And then I tried cheaper programs, hell. And some helped a little, some didn't. But eventually I ended up at Odyssey House. And at that point, I had nothing left. I was broke. I was on Medicaid. I was on housing assistance and food stamps. My life had completely fallen apart. And Odyssey changed my life. Not because it was easy, no, but because it forced accountability. It forced structure, it forced honesty, it forced me to confront myself. I spent 6 months living in the actual house and another year in outpatient treatment. And out of thousands of people, no one graduated, hardly any. but I was one of them. You see, that experience taught me something powerful. You cannot rebuild your life while protecting the identity that destroyed it. You see, after recovery, the real rebuilding started for me. And honestly, that part was much harder than getting sober, because now I had to learn how to live again, how to function again, how to build confidence again. Hell, how to rebuild relationships again, and how to become stable. And I rebuilt slowly, piece by piece. And I eventually went back to school. Even though I already have a finance degree, I decided to go back and study computer arts. Why? Because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed film. I enjoyed the creative work, because I started rebuilding with purpose. I started rebuilding with discipline, and I started rebuilding my identity. And eventually my life started changing. You see, today I'm lucky enough to be the vice president of SavingOceans.org, which is a nonprofit dedicated to saving the wildlife in the oceans. And when I look back at the person I used to be, honestly, it feels like a completely different human being. And you see, that's why I created Recovery Rebuild, because I realized something. A lot of people are not just trying to quit substances. They are trying to rebuild a destroyed life. And nobody really teaches that part. People teach sobriety, but they don't teach identity reconstruction, because that takes discipline, that takes purpose, routine, self-respect, and hell, standards. You have to rebuild with confidence, and you need to become someone you can trust again. But those things matter a lot, because eventually recovery becomes less about what you stop doing and more about who you are becoming. So if you're watching this right now and you feel like your life is destroyed, I want you to do something for me. Take out a piece of paper and answer these questions honestly. Who am I right now? What habits reinforce that identity? What environments reinforce that identity? What standards have I been tolerating? And who do I actually want to become? Because rebuilding starts with awareness, and awareness creates change. Look, I know what it feels like to believe your life is beyond repair. I know what it feels like to be broken, isolated, ashamed, and mentally exhausted. But I also know this: people can rebuild. Not instantly, not perfectly, but slowly, decision by decision, habit by habit, standard by standard. You can rebuild your identity. You can rebuild your confidence, and you can rebuild your life. And that's what Recovery Rebuild is about. So if this message connected with you, please subscribe to the channel. And if you're serious about rebuilding your life, join the free recovery community I'm creating, because you do not have to rebuild alone. We are here for each other as a community. Thank you.